Day 5 arrives. Energy felt solid yesterday. Then the pull hits stronger than logic, seemingly out of nowhere. He's tried discipline, willpower, cold showers at dawn. Nothing sticks. The pattern repeats, confidence building, then collapse. Most men think it's random weakness. It's not. The body follows predictable cycles most never learn to read. Understanding the 5-6 day window changes everything. Around day 5 or 6, something shifts. The first few days felt manageable, even empowering. Then the pull arrives, stronger than expected, seemingly out of nowhere. This isn't random. Here's what happens. The brain's reward system experiences a dip in feel-good chemicals right when old triggers pile up. Environmental cues stack. Dopamine drops. The urge hits like a wave. During the first days of retention, the body adjusts to a new baseline. By day 5, the thinking brain, responsible for decision-making and impulse control, faces peak challenge. Meanwhile, everyday cues start triggering automatic responses built over months or years. The relapse isn't a failure of willpower. It's a collision between brain chemistry and learned habit loops. The good news: patterns can be interrupted. Here are 3 core tactics to disrupt the cycle starting today. Most relapses begin with a cue, not a conscious decision. A man comes home after work. He sits in the same spot on the couch. His phone is within reach. The room is quiet. Every element is a trigger his brain recognizes. The urge builds before he notices it starting. The intervention: identify the top 3 environmental cues linked to past relapses. Change them immediately. If the bedroom triggers urges, sleep with the door open. If late-night phone use precedes relapse, charge the device in another room after 9 p.m. If being alone is the cue, schedule a call or visit a public space during peak urge windows, typically evenings between 8:11 p.m. on days 5 through 7. Here's how it works. When environmental cues are disrupted, automatic behaviors lose their trigger. The brain pathway weakens without reinforcement. Within 1 week, urge intensity drops measurably because the context no longer signals the old routine. When the urge arrives, most men try to fight it or distract themselves. Both approaches can backfire. Fighting increases mental tension. Distraction works temporarily but leaves the urge unresolved. Urge surfing offers a different approach. When the wave hits, he stops. He sits down. He notices where the urge lives in his body: tightness in the chest, heat in the face, tension in the hands. He breathes slowly, 4 counts in, 6 counts out. He doesn't try to push the urge away. He observes it like watching clouds pass. Here's why this works. Urges follow a curve. They rise, peak, and fall, usually within 10 to 15 minutes. By staying present without acting, the brain learns a new pattern. The urge doesn't require a response. Time and again, urge surfing reduces cravings and extends retention by rewiring the automatic reaction. The thinking brain stays online instead of shutting down under pressure. Practical step: when the urge begins, set a timer for 5 minutes. Sit and breathe. Track the sensation as it changes. Most men report the peak passes by minute 3. By minute 5, the intensity has dropped by half. A man reaches day 6. The urge appeared twice, once at lunch, once before bed. He used environmental redesign for the first, urge surfing for the second. Both times, he didn't relapse. Then he goes to sleep. The next morning, the wins feel distant. By evening, he forgets how close he came and how he succeeded. The tactic: Log every urge and every intervention in a simple journal or phone note. Record the time, the trigger, the tactic used, and the outcome. This takes 30 seconds per entry. Why it matters. Tracking makes patterns visible. After 1 week, he sees that urges cluster between 8 minutes 10 p.m. He notices environmental redesign works better for location-based triggers, while urge surfing handles emotional cues. The data becomes a personalized prevention map. What we see consistently. Self-monitoring increases success rates significantly. The act of writing activates the thinking brain, creating distance from the urge. Each logged win reinforces the new brain pathway. He sits on the edge of his bed, day 5, 9 p.m. The phone is in his hand. The urge arrived without warning, familiar, insistent. His thumb hovers over the screen. Then he stops. He sets the phone face down on the nightstand. He stands, walks to the kitchen, fills a glass with cold water. He drinks it slowly, feeling the temperature shift in his chest. The urge is still there, but quieter. He opens his notes app, types 9:04 p.m. Bedroom, phone trigger, result, urge reduced. Day 7. He opens his journal. 6 entries logged over 3 days. He reads them. Pattern emerges. Every urge after 8 p.m., always when alone, 3 times after scrolling. He notices the wins, 4 interventions, 4 times the cycle broke. His hand moves across the page. He writes, Day 7, first time past 6 days in 4 months. His shoulders drop. The pattern interrupted. These 3 tactics, environmental redesign, urge surfing, and pattern tracking, work because they target the cycle at different points. They don't rely on willpower alone. They interrupt automatic responses, giving the thinking brain time to choose differently. Within the first week, most men notice reduced urge intensity and longer gaps between cravings. One critical point: relapse is not failure, it's data. If it happens, log it. What was the trigger? What tactic could work next time? The goal isn't perfection, it's pattern disruption. Core tactics create immediate pattern breaks. Now advanced strategies deepen those wins, turning temporary interruptions into lasting transformation. The tactics from the previous section work because they target specific brain mechanisms active during the 5-minute 6-day window. Understanding why the cycle happens makes the interventions more powerful and sustainable. Here's what happens during this specific window. When a man begins retention, dopamine, the brain's reward chemical, initially stabilizes. The body adjusts to the absence of the old reward pattern. But around day 5, something shifts. The brain experiences what experts call a 2-phase response, an initial adaptation period followed by a temporary dip in baseline dopamine signaling. This dip creates a vulnerability window. The thinking brain relies on stable dopamine to function optimally. When levels drop, decision-making weakens. At the same time, the stress alarm in the brain becomes more reactive to triggers. Environmental cues that felt manageable on day 3 suddenly carry more weight on day 5. The urge isn't stronger because willpower failed. It's stronger because brain chemistry temporarily shifted, making old patterns more appealing. Experience shows this pattern across multiple behaviors. The brain doesn't relapse randomly. It relapses during predictable neurochemical windows, when control circuits are most vulnerable. When the urge arrives, most men interpret it as weakness or failure. This interpretation triggers shame, which activates stress hormones, which further weakens the thinking brain. The cycle reinforces itself. Cognitive reframing breaks this loop. Instead of seeing the urge as a problem, a man learns to reframe it as information. The urge signals that brain pathways are reorganizing. It's not a failure. It's evidence the old pattern is losing its grip and the brain is searching for a new baseline. Practical application. When the day 5 urge hits, he mentally labels it. This is the dopamine dip. My brain is recalibrating. The urge means change is happening. This simple reframe activates the thinking brain instead of the stress alarm. What we see consistently, reframing reduces both craving intensity and relapse rates by shifting the emotional response to urges. Over time, this rewires the association. Urges stop meaning danger and start meaning progress. The brain pathway connecting urge to panic weakens. The pathway connecting urge to growth strengthens. Isolation amplifies relapse risk. When a man faces the day 5 urge alone, the thinking brain has to fight the stress alarm without support. The stress alarm usually wins. Social accountability changes the equation. Having one person, a friend, accountability partner, or mentor, who knows about the retention goal creates external scaffolding for the internal struggle. When the urge hits, he sends a text. Day 5, urge is strong. The act of communicating activates the thinking brain. The response, often just "you got this," or "remember why you started," provides a pattern interrupt. Here's the mechanism. Verbalizing the struggle to another person creates cognitive distance from the urge. The brain shifts from "I am the urge" to "I am experiencing an urge." That distance is often enough to prevent automatic action. Practical step. Identify one person before the cycle begins. Share the goal. Agree to check in during known vulnerability windows, evenings on days 5 through 7. The relationship becomes a circuit breaker for the pattern. The body and brain are linked. When neurochemistry dips, physical interventions can accelerate recovery and reduce vulnerability. 2. Evidence-based resets work particularly well during the 5-minute 6-day window. First, high-intensity exercise. A 20-minute workout, sprints, heavy lifting, or intense cardio triggers an acute dopamine release that counteracts the neurochemical dip. The thinking brain comes back online. The urge loses intensity. Physical activity strengthens the control circuits and reduces cravings through multiple pathways: dopamine restoration, stress hormone reduction, and improved sleep quality. Second, cold exposure. A 2-minute cold shower creates a controlled stress response that activates the thinking brain and builds stress resilience. Cold exposure increases dopamine levels by up to 250% for several hours afterward. When used strategically during peak urge times, it provides both immediate relief and longer-term neurochemical stabilization. Practical integration. On days 5 through 7, add a morning workout and an evening cold shower. These aren't punishments. They're neurochemical resets timed to vulnerability windows. Each time a man uses these tactics instead of relapsing, the brain changes. The pathway from trigger to action weakens slightly. The pathway from trigger to tactic strengthens slightly. After 3 cycles, roughly 15 minutes, 18 days, with multiple interventions, the new pathway becomes the default. The stress alarm stops hijacking decisions during urges. The thinking brain stays online longer. Energy levels stabilize. Mental clarity improves. These aren't superhuman benefits. They're the natural result of consistent pattern interruption allowing the brain to rewire. One critical truth: the cycle is not inevitable. It's a learned response, and learned responses can be unlearned. Consistency matters more than perfection. Each intervention, whether it prevents relapse or not, trains the brain toward new patterns. Here's how advanced tactics combine with core tactics for maximum effect. Days 1-4. Use environmental redesign to reduce trigger exposure. Build the foundation. Days 5-7. Layer in urge surfing, cognitive reframing, social check-ins, and biohacking resets. Target the vulnerability window with multiple interventions. Week 2 and beyond. Implement weekly review sessions. Look at patterns logged in the journal. Which tactics worked best? When did urges appear? Adjust the approach based on data. The transformation doesn't happen overnight, but it does happen. The brain pathways rebuild. The cycle breaks. The pattern that felt automatic becomes optional. That's not theory. That's neuroscience applied consistently over time. Core tactics break the immediate pattern. Advanced strategies rebuild the brain pathways that make those breaks permanent. This week, pick one tactic from each section. Log every urge in your phone, time, trigger, what worked. Find one person to text when day 5 arrives. Take a cold shower tonight at your peak urge time. Drop your biggest breakthrough or challenge with the 5-6 day window in the comments. Hit like if these tactics shift your approach. Subscribe for weekly strategies that target patterns, not symptoms. Your brain rewires when you interrupt cycles consistently. Start tonight.